Limits Podcast.
What's up and welcome, Olympus Mons, the Above Limits Podcast. The World Health Organization seems to be in a little bit of trouble with the United States government, right? You have Donald Trump saying that he wants to defund or stop sending money to the World Health Organization because they're China-centric, and that the information that they've given as far as they were against him closing the borders, which ultimately it's his choice whether he wants to close the borders. They were saying that there was no need for being able to for the United States to close the borders. So he's saying that the information was wrong, but to me, I don't think Donald Trump can pass the buck as much as he wants to do. He says he's supposed to be like a cheerleader for the American people, and I have seen that role of Donald Trump. I was thinking of it more like when you kind of like when you well, like you said, you have to be a cheerleader to brighten the spirits up of the American people, but the American people don't want to be brightened up. They want to know how we can get this to end as quickly as possible, and they're very scared about dying from an illness, and also about the money that is drained, that they don't have for their family and their children. So Donald Trump said something about he said I don't even want to think about it. It upset him that the information was wrong, that he's saying. But you can't pass the buck, Donald Trump. You have to realize that you made a very grave error. We have professionals, right, that they understand exactly what's going on with pandemics. I mean, there's a movie called Contagion that has experts that would do the 101 in pandemic preparedness, that would tell you that you need to do X, Y, and Z. But one thing that's very strange about the World Health Organization is they were a part of the Event 201. And the Event 201, what's peculiar to me is that it was held a month before the coronavirus went from animal species to human species, right? When it made that jump, then that's when it became deadly to humans. And nowhere in all of their whole scenario that they're playing did they ever talk about closing any borders to stop the spread. They were talking about how we need to stop the spread any way possible because of the economic impact that it would have on countries, But never did they talk about closing borders. Not once. They did talk about they had 5 meetings, right, to discuss the scenario and to role play this idea of a world pandemic and what to do. They did talk on their 5th meeting about censoring and controlling misinformation. Now, what they said was fake news, but then you can go we use this term fake news loosely, but very much so. We could give you instances of the mainstream media, which YouTube wants you to listen to, because they always have the mainstream media, either Fox News, MSNBC, or CNN, in your suggested videos. Or if you have the autoplay, they're gonna, right when you watch something that you want to watch, that maybe alternative media, they're gonna try to bombard you with the mainstream narrative and the whole thing that, well, you got to we're all in this together, you got to you social distance, stay 6 feet, stay home, all this NPC logic, right? And basically they were very heavy on like that. Well, should governments be imposing laws to protect against people spreading misinformation, or controlling, basically so they could control the narrative of what they wanted people to hear. And I think they said it a couple times about passing laws to be able to do this. So as far as the closing the borders, right? Donald Trump could have been so victorious if on day one he met with somebody, because it was very. This is something that you would be debriefed on. That we need to forget what the opinion of everybody around the world, and for the sake of our people, we're going to close down the country. We're going to lock down the country. Nobody's going to enter into our country from the south or the north. And if you're trying to get home from China or whatever, there's going to be a very rigorous screening process and make that available, which would avoid all the headache that we're having. It would avoid the economic collapse of our country. You know what I mean? It would save that. We would have been able to stay going. You instead of having to spend all this money to give, we gave out $5-6 trillion stimulus, and we're probably gonna have to do another stimulus here. You could have saved that to like keep people isolated from the United States, yet giving them a process to maybe sit for a month on the taxpayer dollar before they can enter in the country. These are the measures that should have been taken. Instead, we're having measures of like taking our civil liberties away and eroding the Constitution, and possible forced vaccines, mandatory vaccines once a vaccine is available to all Americans. And that's going to really start some shit with people, because they do not want to be forced to take some type of medication that a lot of people believe is filled with the microchip, because it's made from Bill Gates, a guy that why does a guy that made an operating system want to create vaccines? This isn't conspiracy theory. This is just the way people are going to think once the inevitable happens and they create a vaccine. And then we see that Dr. Fauci is already saying, well, we're going to have a mandatory vaccine for everybody in the United States. It could have been prevented if Donald Trump would have not listened to anybody other than him. So he can't say that he's done a great job. He would have done a great job if he totally stopped people from entering into the country, that anywhere from Britain, just completely locked down the United States. But it's all too late. Sooner or later, we're gonna all be experts on how to fix this coronavirus stuff. So I got a doorbell ringing. I pretty much made my video. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube and watch me on BitChute. This is Olympus Mods with the above.